There is a place in Central America built on a single idea, that some people should disappear from the world without dying. 40,000 men live behind this wall. None of them are going home. Whether that makes a country safer or just better at hiding its problems is the question this film can't fully answer. We can only show you what's inside. CECOT, El Salvador's Terrorism Confinement Center. To understand why this exists, you have to go back to a number 104. That was El Salvador's homicide rate per 100,000 people, at its worst, one of the highest ever recorded outside a war zone. Two gangs, MS-13 and Barrio 18, didn't just commit crimes here. For years, they ran entire neighborhoods as their own territory. In March 2022, President Nayib Bukele's government answered with the largest mass arrest campaign the region has ever seen. In 16 months, more than 70,000 people, close to 2% of the country's entire adult population, were taken into custody. Some of those 70,000 were exactly who the government says they were. Human rights groups argue some weren't, that in a sweep that size, innocent men got swept in too, with no lawyer, no hearing, and no way for their families to even confirm they're alive. Both things can be true at once. That tension doesn't get resolved in this film. It shouldn't be. Signal jammers cut all phone service for 2 kilometers around the prison. 600 soldiers guard the perimeter alone. It takes our crew almost an hour to get through a single door. The scanner isn't looking for guns, it's looking for SIM cards swallowed whole. Microchips taped under tongues. The small, deniable tools of men who used to run a network from inside a cell. We've had no riots, one officer tells us, no escape attempts, not one. He says it like a fact. It plays like a warning. There are 80 men in this cell. Some weeks, closer to 150. Each one has less floor space than a parking spot. No yard, no window, no sunlight, ever, for the rest of their lives. The only hour they leave this room is for exercise once a week, and even that is rationed. There isn't enough space in the building to let everyone out at once. Before any of these men speak, their bodies already have. A number worked into the skin near the collarbone, a spider web on an elbow, time served, territory claimed, a teardrop under one eye, then a second beside it, then a third. Not decoration, a ledger. Each mark is a sentence nobody asked them to write, and every man in this room can read it on the man next to him. Lights stay on 24 hours a day. Several men sleep with a towel pressed over their eyes, the closest thing to night they're allowed. The menu doesn't change. Today, tomorrow, next year, rice, beans, pasta, in rotation. It's enough to survive on. It isn't designed to be anything more than that. Solitary confinement here can run up to 15 days. No clock, no book, no human voice. Just a concrete slab and a hole in the wall the size of a fist that lets in just enough light to know it's still daytime. And nothing else. Inside, says the warden, you can't even see your own hands. The administration calls this discipline and means it as a virtue. Whether total sensory deprivation counts as discipline or as something closer to torture depends entirely on which side of that door you're standing on, and is, right now, a live legal question well beyond this prison's walls. Marvin, known inside the organization as Psycho, has spent more than half his life in MS-13. We're given 10 minutes. He describes a childhood with no father, a mother too poor to keep him fed, and a gang that offered the first thing that ever looked like belonging. He says the entry price was a killing, and that the first one is supposed to be someone close to you, a way of proving there's nothing left to lose. Asked how many lives he's taken, he doesn't give a number. He says, past a certain point, you stop counting. He says he last saw his son when he was 5 years old. His son is 21 now. He says some nights he cries. He says he hopes someday to be forgiven. By God, if no one else. None of that undoes what he did. It doesn't even try to. What it does is make the easy version of this story, pure monster, pure victim, impossible to hold on to for the length of one answer. By the numbers, this worked. The homicide rate fell from 104 per 100,000 to under 3, one of the steepest declines any country has recorded in peacetime. Markets reopened. Streets that belonged to gangs for 2 decades belong to no one in particular now, which, after what came before, feels like its own kind of miracle. But a country doesn't usually get to choose between cruelty and chaos. It chooses how much of each it can live with, and calls the rest someone else's problem to solve. Whether what's inside this wall is justice or just a more efficient kind of disappearing isn't a question the people who built it are interested in answering. We don't either. We just open the door and let you decide what you saw. Roughly 40,000 men are currently held at CECOT. None have a release date.